for coming out this morning. I want to welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Brooke Myatt. I am the chair of the RCBC Entertainment Technologies program. We have 2 degree programs. For those of you that don't know, we have a video and digital media degree program, and we also have a sound recording engineering program. Both of those programs transfer seamlessly to Rowan University's main campus. So if you follow our video and digital media track, you can graduate with a BS in radio, television, and film. If you take our sound recording and engineering track, you can graduate in 4 years finishing at Rowan University with a BA in music with a specialization in music technology. So without further ado, what's really unique about our speaker today is that he is an RCBC alumnus who was here when we had our Pemberton campus. Now I don't know if has anybody here been on the Pemberton campus? Know where the Pemberton campus is? When you were 8? Okay, good. So I used to teach at the Pemberton campus. It's I'd say about 20 minutes up the road, 25 minutes, depends on traffic and how fast you're going. Welcome. And back at the Pemberton campus, we had a theater, we had a television studio, and we had a lot of different things, and then we morphed over to Mount Laurel. But what we also had was really great were sports teams and an athletic department. And what I think is really unique about athletics and the arts, and especially in the entertainment field, is one of the things that we're gonna talk about today is working together and building a team and building a community, building trust, and really taking your team from beginning to end. And that's very similar to filmmaking in general. And I think we're gonna touch on some of those things today too. And as I spoke with our speaker, who is joining us today, Mario Cerrito, welcome, thank you so much. Mario has done a lot since his days at RCBC. He's gonna tell you about his road to filmmaking, which is not probably the normal road to filmmaking, completely opposite than maybe some of you sitting here today that said, you know, when you're 10, you're like, I want to be a director, I want to be a writer, or I know I want to go to school and be a producer or be a director. Mario's path was very different, and I'm very excited that he's going to share that journey with us. Just some of his highlights. He's a multiple award-winning horror film writer, producer, and editor. His films have been critically acclaimed. He's known from his latest franchise of Human Hibachi 1 and Human Hibachi 2. They have been signed to Troma Entertainment, and they went to win the Best Feature Film at the New Jersey Horror Con and Film Festival in Atlantic City. There's other really awesome things that he is doing, and he's gonna share those with us. And the best part about it is he is local. He was from Woodstown, right? Yeah. High school. So we want to welcome him to RCBC in Mount Laurel. So let's give him a round of applause. Welcome, Mario. And I just kind of why don't you tell us about kind of how it came to be that you were, you came to RCBC for baseball, but it wasn't until years and years later that your filmmaking career came. So you can really kind of start off about telling us about your life, maybe how movies or film was kind of in the back of your mind. Writing, I think, is a big thing for you. That's kind of how it all started. So I'll just kind of let you roll with it, if that works. And then I'll interject if there's a question or comment, and we can have some comments from the students. Awesome, I'm gonna put this here.
First and foremost, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it, and I hope I shed some knowledge to you guys today. So I didn't want to be a filmmaker. I never even thought of it. I was a baseball player. That's all I ever dreamt to be, was a baseball player. Growing up, that's kind of where my head was at. Film, I always liked horror movies, but I never ever dreamed of making one. I wrote a screenplay in 2007. I was out of work, I was bored, and I had an idea, and I was just like, hey, let me write this. So I didn't know how to write a screenplay. So I went online, Googled how to write a screenplay, started writing, and it started flowing and flowing, and I got a completed screenplay. But now I didn't know what to do with it. I just said, oh, this is nice, it's just paper. So I put it away, and I met my wife in 2011, and it was up in my closet, and I think one day she read it and was like, this is really good. I was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And she goes, you should get it made. And I said, get it made? I said, I don't know anything about film. I don't know how to even start to get a film made. And then I just started thinking about it. I was like, man, maybe I should try and get this thing made. I'm like, how do you do that? I don't know anybody in film. I had no connections, nothing, no money. I had $0 in my pocket and no connections. And now I'm trying to get a screenplay made. So I went on Facebook and I put a status out. I said, does anybody know anybody in the film business? Crickets. I think one person tagged somebody. And I inboxed them, and they were, I don't even know if they knew anything about how to make a film, but we started talking, that fell through. And then I just, kept typing on Facebook, and one thing led to another, and I got somebody that used to be a Hollywood actor. Now I'm connected to somebody that was somebody. So I inboxed them. Yeah, send me a screenplay. They loved it. Now I'm starting to work with this guy that knows a little bit of something. Me and him had a falling out, but I learned something. I made a connection. And I picked his brain. That was his first thing. Now I'm starting to learn from somebody who's in the business. That's how it started, because now we made a trailer. It was called The Cornfield Massacre. This is 2012. So we made that, and I saw how it was done. Now, again, I didn't go to film school. I went here, Burlington County. It was called Burlington County then. For baseball, I didn't go for film. So now I'm learning on the fly. Then I got the bug. Then I'm like, oh wow, because I saw you could take a piece of paper and make it into a motion picture, and it's your vision come to life. Now I'm catching the bug. So this is how it started. That brought me to 2013 when me and him had a falling out. He told me, you'll never make a movie. We got into like an argument. You'll never make a movie. You didn't go to film school. You don't know what you're doing. You might as well quit. Now this guy's an older guy that was bitter. So that fueled me. Now I'm like, oh, now he's gonna tell me I can't do something to watch me. So I wrote, in 2013, I wrote my first film called Deadly Gamble. Now, again, still broke, no money, with a dream. And I said, now I got a screenplay, I know what to do now with it, but now I need money. Now what? Because to make a film, you need money. It's, unless you're related to a film crew that can produce it for you, you can't do anything. So, 2013, I sent a screenplay. This is all like how it all linked up. And I sent it out to some guy I knew, that one of the actors I'm casting this thing with no money. I'm auditioning actors like I have $1 million in the bank to make the film. So they're coming in, oh yeah, you got the role. We don't got any money. There's no money, there's no film. Seriously, this is how this is all linked up. So I'm like putting the cart before the horse, because you have to. A lot of people where they fail is they'll stop. But we don't have money. Well, yeah, you need money to make a film, but if you keep putting links together. So this is because I had the fortitude and I knew it was gonna click. So I said, all right, I cast this one guy, and I asked him, I gave him one of the lead roles. I said, do you know anybody that might want to invest in this film? Yeah, let me ask my guy out in Chicago. See, it's all about connecting the dots. So he sent in the screenplay, and he goes, oh my God, I love it. Yeah, I'll put it up. Now listen, we're still talking $5,000 to $10,000 to get a film made. The first film was made on $10,000, but when you have $0, that's a lot of money it's a big bounce, 0 to 10. I couldn't get loans, so he read it and he put up 5. So now we have half the budget because it was a $10,000 budget. Made a connection, got another 5 in there. So now we have $10,000 to make our first movie. So that was 2013. Made it, and it came out great. And I swear to my mom, the day before the shoot, it was supposed to be, some of the location was at my parents' house. I said to my mom, because remember that guy I told you about that told me you can never make a film, you don't know what you're doing? I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to direct a movie. And I had people come to my house, we had a big crew, it was like a lot of Temple students that we brought in. And I didn't know how to direct a movie, I didn't have any training. So I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I think I'm gonna call it off. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to direct a movie. And she goes, Mary, she goes, just do it. She goes, it'll come to you. And I had faith in it, and so I said, I'm telling you, it's the night before 25 people were coming to my house, actors. So I went and did it, and it all just started from there. It was natural, and that we finished that film, and it got signed to a company in Los Angeles, Cinema Epic, and they distributed it all over. It landed on cable TV, like if you Comcast on demand. That was like cool. Like I knew when it was going to drop. I went on this TV at like 12 a.m. and I could see my movie up there, which that was really cool. I went to
Deadly Gamble?
Yeah.
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 Did you want to show the trailer so they know
Yeah,
what
you
you're
can.
talking
Yeah. Yeah, this was, I put this together in 2013.
So just tell us a little backstory about the story, and then.
Yeah, so the Deadly Gamble is about a degenerate gambler that gets into the Russian mafia for, I think it was like 90 grand. And under the stipulation, if he doesn't pay it back, he had to make a risk of his family. So if he doesn't pay it back, they come after not only him, but his family too. He's such a degenerate gambler that he takes the risk and risks his family for that money.
Okay, this is Deadly Gamble trailer.
Right.
Give me another week. I promise. I guarantee. Igor, get the cheese. Yo, buddy, pay it back.
I need a loan.
You and your family will be responsible for the money. People usually pay back when their families are at stake.
I'm in trouble, but I have a lot of money with these Russians. I need to make 40 tonight.
Just please be careful. Great.
I will absolutely make it here tonight.
On. Where is the payment you owe us? You never paid.
Look, I'm working on it, right? Never come to my house again.
You're not gambling, are you?
Why would you say that? I'm not gambling.
Because what you do affects me.
You remember the consequences, yes?
Yeah.
What would you have to be nervous about?
We take this shit very seriously.
There's a lot on my mind. I'm tired.
Andrew, what's wrong?
Nothing's wrong.
Are you gonna tell me what's going on?
Nothing's going on, all right?
Nothing. $13,000, that's it. I got no more than $9,000. Leave me alone.
Does it come, Andy? It always is. Just this time, in Deadly Gamble.
Can we just talk about this tomorrow? Let's get some sleep, right?
If you will not pay back, you and your family will be responsible for the money.
I'm good for it.
So yeah, that was the first film I did. That was 2013.
That's, so I think what's amazing to me is this, it's coming later to you.
Right.
And I remember reading, I think you were a car salesman.
Yeah.
And, this was just kind of like a passion, like a hobby in the background of your mind. It wasn't something that like every day you were thinking about.
Right.
And you just needed that push, and you got that push. But what I really want to share, and I think this comes up a lot in our discussions in class and when I bring people in to speak, is the connection part and the networking part.
Right.
And I think a lot of young filmmakers and people that are out there trying to look for their first break, they don't realize trying to make that connection and being a go-getter, and we really need to do that in this business.
100%.
Can you expand maybe on that?
Yeah.
Like how that kind of, like these little things that you're saying, these are all connections that keep leading you till today.
Right. Yeah, so it's tough again. So like when you start out, if and I explain this to people all the time, like if you start out, anybody could start out and with, say you have $5 million in the bank, you say, I'm gonna make a movie. Well, that's easy. Now you got $5 million. So you call a production company overnight, you hire them, and now you have $5 million to make something work with. I mean, that's real easy. I can make 50 movies with $5 million. But when you have, this is the hardest part, and I mean, I don't know everybody's situation that tries to make a film, but when you're starting with no money, it's impossible to make a movie because it takes money to make a movie. So now you got to start using resources, and that's what's huge. You gotta, so for the first movie I made, Deadly Gamble, I didn't have money to pay a crew, so now I have to look for student interns at Temple, people that want to work for credit. So now I'm like, okay, so now if I can build a crew with people that want to work for free, essentially, and in the film business, I mean, it's crappy to say, but a lot of times you have to work for free to build a resume because you'll get hired off your resume. So when you go to apply to a producer or whatever, they want to see what you did. A lot of people get hung up on, and I face this constantly, where people say, "How much you paying?" And I'll say, "Well, let me see your resume," and they show you your resume, and there's nothing on it. Well, you do. I mean, a lot of times you gotta, and like getting to what she said, you gotta be able to sacrifice your ego and your dignity to make a name for yourself. Because once you start building a name for yourself, now that's more valuable than the 100 hours that you're gonna get paid for a day. What's that? What's it gonna give you a tank of gas or whatever? But that resume builder is huge because now you're building a name. And when people see the films you've done, now you're making connections and all. So, you know, that's kind of what I stress to people, and that's the people that won't make it. The people that do not sacrifice their ego and dignity won't make it, because a producer will, especially if you're looking to work around here or, you know, local, they want to hire somebody with that resume. And if you don't, I'm telling you, I face this constantly. The first question was, like, I'll say, "Hey, listen, I need a sound guy." And, you know, again, I'll pay them something, but sometimes they'll say, "Yeah, it's $150 for a day." And they'll say, "Well, I want 200. Dude, come on. Over $50, you're gonna risk that. And they will stand firm on that, and then I'll just move to the next guy. The next guy that takes the $150, now, guess what? He's now more valuable than that guy that put down that $200. And that happens constantly. So that's one thing I would stress. Connection-wise, you always want to use resources. That's huge because, again, you know, if you're working with not a lot of money, you got to make friends. You got to make connections, and that's what I did. That's how I started. Honestly, I made those connections. So.
And we had a connection. We found out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up right outside of Philly. Went to Central Bucks East High School, and I had a fellow classmate was a huge actor, Adam Radcliffe,
Right.
and I actually had Adam speak. I'm gonna say probably about close to 10 years ago.
Okay.
When he was first kind of trying to get
Right.
his feet wet.
Yeah.
And I had him come, and he was telling me about all his, you know, trying to be an actor and trying to break into the business. And
Right.
he was doing a lot of commercials at the time.
Right.
And he actually worked with you.
Yeah.
I saw through like an IMDb
Uh-huh.
connection. I had no idea when
Isn't
I
that
was
crazy?
doing my research on you. And he actually was just on Blacklist on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yesterday
That's
night.
awesome.
He was on Blacklist,
See?
and I said, I can't believe, and seeing you today. So what I'm saying is you never know who's gonna come back and how to make those connections and not
100%.
burn those connections too. Can you maybe share
Yeah,
that? You never know where it's full
Well,
circle.
it's so true.
The business is so tight.
I was just gonna say that, especially in this market here in Philly and New Jersey, it is such a small community to film that, I mean, everybody knows everybody. You'll learn, you learn who to work with and who not to work with. I can tell you that right off the bat, just from being in it for a little while. But so the number one thing is don't burn like she said, don't burn those bridges, because you never know, and it does come back and get you. I know a couple guys. I've never done that. I don't burn the bridges. That's one thing I never do. My dad, I grew up very Italian. My dad always told me, he goes, don't burn any bridges, because one day you might have to walk that bridge to get to the other side to eat. He would tell me that, and it's so true, because I mean, people have done it with me, and then they've come back with their tail between their legs because they want to get on a project, and then obviously I remember what happened before, and you know, I don't give second chances. That's one thing with me, I don't give second chances. And a lot of people in the film business don't give second chances, because it's tight, but it's also very competitive. So, you know, it is tight, but within that tightness, there might be 1,000 actors in the immediate area that you can choose from as well. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely would not recommend burning bridges.
So you had Deadly Gamble, it's playing at 12:30 at night on
Yeah.
whatever channel.
That was so cool.
You made it for $10,000.
Right.
Where do you go next? What's happening next? Do you write something else? Does somebody come
It's
to
funny
you?
you say that.
What's the
All right,
next
so
step for you?
I'll tell you. So it's funny you say this. That should have been where I quit. Because now I have a film done. It's great. Like it's on national TV. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Net. Not it didn't go to Netflix. It's on Vudu. It's on all the like streaming platforms. Which is again, that's like a really hard accomplishment when you had no budget. So now I feel great. This is cool. All right, now what? But now I have that bug I was talking about. Now I want to keep making films, but I have no money. Again, I still have no money. The film didn't make any money. So now I'm thinking, all right, well now I get another idea. It's called The Listing. So I write this screenplay. Check my bank account, still $0 in there. Now what do? Now this is where it gets real tricky because now I have a film. I mean, these films, unless you really have a real strong hook, like this is where, I mean, I'll get into where Human Hibachi came about and all, but they blend in. I call them like blender films, like Deadly Gamble blended in with all the other independent films that are out on those platforms. Nothing separates it, so I'll get into that. But I write The Listing. Now I'm gonna step the budget up to like 30,000. I'm like, all right, so now I did one for 10, let's do one for 30. So now I gotta find that somehow. I'm like, man, how can I get this kind of money? I think I was still living at home at the time. I mean, I had nothing. It was like 2012, 13. I might have been like 28. I was still like in and out of college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Working as a car salesman, so I'm like kind of like floating around. And then I get that, and I'm like, all right, now we got to find more money. So I should, in all reality, I should have been done after Deadly Gamble because, but I had a dream, I had a passion, I wanted to keep going. And that's where a lot of these filmmakers stop, is right there. They'll make, and I've seen it so many times, they'll make their first feature, it might win an award, it doesn't get picked up for distribution because that's really hard to get, out on the platforms. A lot of them don't even get picked up. But then they stop because they say, it didn't make $1 million. That's the other thing. Everybody, we're gonna make a film, it's gonna make $5 million, we're gonna move to the Hamptons, and yeah, we'll be good. And yeah, so exactly. So now I have a screenplay called The Listing, $25,000 budget, and I had to go out and find that money. And then we made that movie, and that's I think that's where I realized, now I gotta do something different, and that's when the Human Hibachi thing came.
And how did Human Hibachi come about? Did you have an idea? Did somebody come to you?
Yeah, so, well, the Listing, it got signed out in Los Angeles again. That actually was represented at Cannes Film Festival? Cannes? I forget what I'll say.
Yeah,
That went out there, and that kind of really put a name. That's where I started to build like a stronger name in the area after that. And then I'm in me and my wife went out to dinner with my brother-in-law. We went to a hibachi restaurant. So I think we were drinking, yeah, we were drinking wine. It was late, and I think
Too much wine, maybe?
Yeah. We homemade wine too.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I think we got to talking, and we're like, wouldn't that be crazy if they just like shut the doors down on us and like took us in the back, chopped us up, and then fed the next people that came in our remains as like just like a horror idea we threw out. So I go home and I'm thinking like, yeah, that is a good idea. Kind of crazy. What if it was like rich businessmen that came in at night, like after hours, that were like crazy and they were cannibals? And then I'm like, damn, that could be like a cult hit. I was like, because I'm thinking of like these like trauma films. I'm like, dude, there's a market for that. And then I'm like, I gotta write a screenplay. So I wrote that, and now I'm thinking, all right, how can I make a film cheaply but real effective and real different? Something that would stand out. First, now the title, Human Hibachi. Like when you hear that, you're just like, all right, that sounds interesting, especially for horror fans. And then it's something that caught, and so that's kind of how that was born.
Let's watch a little bit about Human Hibachi, and then let's take some questions about how that all,
Right.
I mean, something like this was obviously a much broader scale movie than Deadly Gamble.
It was,
A lot
yeah,
of other effects and things like that that you had to,
right,
you know, create. I mean, and like you said, not really knowing much,
right.
you know, you're still kind of starting out. I mean,
I'm
you
still,
only had your
yeah, I'm only
one.
5 years in probably.
Yeah. So it's, and even though people think like you had that one hit,
Uh-huh.
you're still getting your feet wet.
Exactly,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
a
not
grind.
like a,
It's a,
yeah.
yeah, oh my God,
Well,
I'm
it's
still
always
grinding.
a grind,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm still grinding.
exactly. Yeah, all right, let's do that here.
So this is shot on an iPhone. It's supposed to be found footage, which is a totally, I mean, you probably know, but it's a different style. It's supposed to look like it came from somebody's
Like,
phone.
what's
That,
that other one, Cloverfield? Is
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Somebody that didn't know what they were doing, basically.
Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, it's like,
oh,
it's like,
there it is. Is that
yeah.
that? I was thinking of Paranormal Activity.
Exactly. Blair Witch Project, paranormal. So it's supposed to look like it's, you know,
Some of you are too young to know Blair Witch, but I know Blair Witch.
inspiration.
Yeah, put the windows down.
It's 835th, and it's a good health. Cheers. Hey, you would love to come with us tonight.
Yes, I would love that.
Let's do it. How are you?
Doing great, Jen. How are you? Very good, thank you. We've been waiting for you guys. It's going to be a great night. We'll take good care of you. I hope you guys enjoy your appetite. Come on, you up to me. Harper, like you told me you would.
Go down home. That bitch is in the dumpster.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
So yeah, that was kind of like the start of like, all right, now we got something. Because now, you know, that's totally like off the wall. It's totally, it makes something stand out. And again, it's not like one of those blender films where, yeah, it might be good, but everybody's making that same kind of, I call them cookie cutter films.
Sure.
You know, whereas this now, we went and pushed limits on this film. Like, if you watch the whole film, I mean, we're really pushing limits that the mainstream doesn't want you to push. So that's kind of where it stood out, and it really did. It got like a cult following. I mean, the DVD sold in 12 different countries, as far as Australia, and they had it in stores in Australia. So it really got like that widespread cult following, and Troma is like, they're legendary. They're the longest running independent film studio in the world, and they picked it up.
What kind of brought you to the horror? Because a lot of young people, when they're first starting out, you know, they feel, I'm gonna write a film about this genre and this genre, and it's like a mix.
Right.
What keeps you? Do you have a connection to the horror genre? Were you always as a kid like wanting to go to all those movies? Did you love
Yeah.
watching the old, you know,
Yeah.
even the old Young Frankenstein? Like what was it about the horror industry that keeps you motivated and keeps you going to keep writing these sort of films?
All right, so I can answer it in a lot of different ways. Number one is you can do them cheaply and effectively. Whereas like if you were to do drama films, you have no shot of making a drama film on low budget. You just don't, or an action film, like, you know, then you're really, so with a horror film, you can literally get $20,000 to $30,000 and make that compete with films that are $1 million to $2 million, because there's so much creativity that you can do effectively and cheap. Whereas like you can't do a drama or like say like an action film where explosives are supposed to, like you just can't do it. So that's the number one reason. But no, I would say that's like number two. Number one is I just love the horror genre because I love the suspense of disbelief, or whatever that word is. But whereas like you can really take your mind away from your situation and get into something that gives you a thrill, but it's not real. And at the end, you can leave people really like shocked. And that is the main draw. The second is I just always loved horror. I loved haunted attractions. I loved creating things in my head that could happen in situations, and I'm just really drawn to that. And the reason why I branded myself as a horror director is because I actually directed a love film in 2019 that I took my name off of. I was hired to direct it, and as I directed, I mean, I did a great job, but it was not. I didn't have that passion. These I really have a passion for, and it's kind of what I stuck with.
So from Human Hibachi 1, what were some things that came to you, or some jobs or some other things that started coming to you
Right.
now? This is your second
Right.
film, it's getting some play, you're going out there, it's getting distributed. What now is starting to happen in your
Right.
in the career and the other aspect before you jump to Human Hibachi 2?
Good, I'm glad you asked that. So after Human Hibachi, now I'm building a real good name up for myself. I was getting like people. So what happened was I had somebody contact me. They had seen the listing, and they said, "Yo, I saw the listing. I really liked it. You did that on like 30,000." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Listen, we got like the same kind of budget. I think they had more. It might have been like 50 or 60 or 80 went in there. We need a director. They're from South Philly." And I was like, send me the screenplay, and that was the love story. So I'm reading that, and I'm like, you know what I mean?
Like,
It's not really my style.
But you're like, it's a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, and they're like, yeah, we'll pay like $25,000 to direct it. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I'll do it. It sounds good to me. So they paid me to direct it, and now I'm making money doing what I love now. So now, I mean, I might not love films, but again, now you're getting paid. Now you're building a name up. Now you're getting paid, and it sounds. I mean, $25,000 is substantial to anybody, but it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is in something when I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's so hard. Like you can, unless you're like a tech, it's hard to be like a director, or paid actor, like on a large scale. Unless you're like a sound guy, which is like in demand. People need sound people. People need camera guys. When you're a director, everybody wants to direct. So what separates? Why am I paying you? You know what I mean? Why can't I just direct it? So now I'm getting a name where people are actually paying me to direct films. So that was all stemmed off of like the listing in Human Hibachi. So yeah, now I'm getting like paid work, paid editing jobs. I'm starting to make money at the craft.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize is sometimes you will have to take a job that maybe is not
Right.
in your wheelhouse,
Right.
but
Pay the
I
bills.
mean, it's got to pay the bills.
Right.
And I think what else I think I share with my students is you have to be that one person band. You have to have experience. Like, you're not always going to land the director role. You might land, like you said, I might be editing one day, or I
Right.
might be, working behind in
100%,
production,
100%.
or, location scouting, or, I mean, share with kind of all the jobs,
Yeah.
and that helps you build yourself in the
Connections,
industry.
100%. Yeah. So, and it's funny. It's because I never really set out to be any one job. You understand what I'm saying? Like I wasn't labeling myself. I never said like, oh, I'm a director. Yeah, all right, that's great, but again, everybody wants to be a director. So what makes you, assets make you valuable, so like she just pointed on. So I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself, I didn't teach myself how to write. I know how to write. But I taught myself how to direct. I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself how to produce. I taught myself how to cast. I mean, I'm not a casting director, but I know how to audition people to fit a vision. So now, and again, like she said, I casted films, and not just my films. I've casted other films that people, like that one with Adam Ratcliffe. I casted that. It's called Right Before Your Eyes. It won best independent film in Philly. I cast that. So you start see people. What happens is in film they look at your IMDb. So they see like what you've done, like, oh, you did cast a film, yeah, all right, well, listen, we need help casting. That's how, and that's the connections you build. Oh, I seen you edited Human Hibachi, just whatever, movie. Can you edit mine? Yeah, all right, listen, we got 10 grand for an editor, all right. Then you start, you have 10 grand here, now you have 5 grand here, you start making a living. You know what I mean? So the more you feathers you have in the cap, you know, if you're just an editor, unless you're out in Hollywood editing a huge Hollywood film, I mean, there's everybody around here is an editor. They all learn, so you got to kind of spread yourself out. So because one film might need this, but if you're only this, then you're no good for them.
So, Human Hibachi 1, how do you come to write Human Hibachi 2? How do you get the backing? What's the budget for that? Take us through like
Right.
how that comes about.
So Human Hibachi 1, we did, so that was, again, it was signed to Troma. Still, like, the money's not there on the back end. It's just, and I think a lot of that I'm not positive, but these distributors are, and that's part of this business is like, it's a catch-22, so you need them to get your film out, but in the end, I don't know if you can't trust these guys or they're not, and it's so hard because they show you what they want to show you, and they know the game better than you do because you're the filmmaker. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they're exploiting or what's going on with that. But again, but the bottom line was we built a cult hit. I mean, the film really. I mean, I'm telling you, like, where people were hitting me up from all over, like Germany, Japan, Australia, China. Like, I didn't even know China could message me. Like, I'm like, aren't you guys like banned from? I don't know. It was just like I literally sent a DVD to China, like a China address. I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I'm like, now we got to do a second one. So I wrote that. I think it was like fall of 2020.
How long does something like that take you to write?
It depends on, so now that, I only write when I'm in a certain frame of mind. So it could take me, Human Hibachi 2 took me about a month, that's slow actually. And I mean, I could write a screenplay in 3 days if I want, but I wrote that in about a month. And then I had the same executive producer. He actually walked in the room, Jeff Alpert. He's my guy. He's an actor too in the film. We got back with the same producers, and we're like, listen, let's make a second one. And that is my favorite film to date that I've personally done. Everything came together on that film. It was kind of, now I got like, that was made in 2021, so I probably got like 9 years in the, you know what I mean, in the industry. And I'm like, I'm gonna put it all into this movie. And
How did you get the funding for that?
private investors. I put some
Did you
in,
go
and
through
then
Indiegogo or
no.
Just
So reaching out. So you say, listen, you know, I'll give you X percent for X amount of dollars, and then they become like the executive producer of the film.
And how much did you raise for that?
I want to say we did like 30,000. So we kept it. I mean, they're effective, like, you know, 25, 30,000, and then yeah.
So you're taking kind of the same situation that you had for 1.
Right.
You're putting it into 2. Was it similar cast? I didn't see 2, but is it similar? Like, how are you picking up on the second film? I don't know if a lot of people in here saw
No, so
the franchise.
it's basically, yes, so it's found footage. The original people from the first one get locked up for this like grotesque film that they made. And the second one is about these copycat killers out in the woods that are obsessed with the first film. And they want to find, there's 2 people on the loose from the first movie that are rumored to be around that area in the woods where they're at. So they're out on a mission to find them. And like, these guys are like, you know, rednecks. And they're just copycat killers, and they want to impress them with a feast. If they find them, they want to make an elaborate feast for them and honor them. And
So how do you come up with this idea? Did you go back to the same restaurant? And
No.
start brainstorming,
That's you
or
again.
how do you-
I don't know how these ideas, like, I don't know. I just like.
Do you have like a board where like you have those moments? I used to
No.
do that and like get up in the middle of the night and I'm like dreaming about something and like write my ideas down.
Yeah, no,
You ever
I-
have that?
It's funny, so I get asked that question a lot, like how do you come up with an idea?
Yeah, how do you- and-
So I'll get a central premise, like I want it in the woods. So the thing is like, all right, I'm gonna make a second one. I want it in the woods. That's how it starts. Then I'm like, all right, so now I gotta build that storyline. Now we have people in the woods. So I'd start, now we got people in the woods. All right, why? Why are they in the woods? Well, they live there, and now they want to find the guys from the first one. Oh, maybe they're in those woods. And it kind of like, it's like starts here and it kind of goes like that.
Do you draw out a chart? Like,
No.
what's your?
No,
what's
I
your-
don't. It's in my head. No, I don't. There's no charts. There's no.
There's no.
There's no like.
work?
No, I don't draft. I don't bullet point or I don't do any of that. It literally like I have it here, and then I start like interior or exterior woods night. Then I'll go like I'll start typing like.
And you can put it all together?
Yeah. Like I'll.
That's a gift.
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as just like taking those crazy thoughts and getting them out of my head.
What are some other of your, I guess, people that you're looking up to? Like, what are some of the directors and films that influence you to inspire things like this, like Stephen Hibachi?
Yeah, so Hostel, Eli Roth. So he's a horror film director, but he specializes in, I don't know if you guys ever heard The Green Inferno. He specializes in these kind of films. Lloyd Kaufman owns Troma. He's another one that I idolize. These guys, Lloyd Kaufman kind of took the same route I did. He was like, he kind of bailed away from Hollywood. So Troma's whole thing is like, all right, listen, Hollywood wants to be this way, we're gonna be this way. And that's kind of like what
The Misfits.
Right, exactly, yeah. And it really works. But yeah, I mean, and just to touch on like what you can accomplish with no money. And I stress this because again, I never had a silver spoon. Nobody said, "Mar, you want to be a filmmaker?" Like my parents would say, "You want to be a filmmaker? Listen, Mommy and Daddy are going to give you $100,000. Go make some movie." No, it was not like that. It was like, if you want to be a filmmaker, go get it. Like if you want to be whatever you want to be, you got to go get it. So, and this is just to give you a little background on what I personally accomplished. I'm not a bragger. I'm really not. But I'm going to lay some facts out of what can be accomplished. So the New Jersey Horror Con is a big horror event in Atlantic City. Films are submitted from Europe, from Los Angeles. All the people that want their films to win the nice trophy. The first movie was going against films from Berlin, Germany, films from Los Angeles. The first film was made on, I think it was like 15 grand. And then like we had expenses in like post. I never really count that because I'm shooting budget and then post is kind of different, but it was made on like 15-20,000. We went against a film, $1 million budget from Los Angeles that submitted to the same one. Now you get accepted into a festival and then you get nominated for awards. So I'm like, I see the nominations come out and I'm looking up the movies, I'm like, who am I going against here? This film was $1 million budget out of Los Angeles. It was like a horror film. I'm like, all right, we lost. I didn't even see the movie, I just said we lost. I'm like, yeah, it's $1 million budget. So I'm like, wow. Human Hibachi 1 beat that out for best feature film. So now that's what I accomplished with again, starting from zero, beating out a film for $1 million budget to win first best feature film. And then the second one beat out a film with, I think it was like $2 million, which was actually a Troma film with Lloyd Kaufman in it. We beat that one out too. So, I mean, that's just to show you, again, if you have a passion and fire in that belly, you can accomplish anything.
That's great. Let's check out.
Yeah.
Get a nice and chin up for Doug. Welcome to your new home. You will be alive Sunday. Tengo que Sunday.
like you said, that Blair Witch kind of like found footage. I remember going to see Blair Witch. I got nauseous after I.
It was shaking all around.
Oh man,
yeah.
I was like, I've never ever gotten sick from seeing a movie that was the
Yeah,
first
yeah, yeah,
ever. So we talked about inspiration. What keeps you going? Because I feel like sometimes, like, you know, you've had these good and you know what I mean? And I think that's what I'd love to tell, you know, students here, that, you know, not everything is gonna be a yes. You've had such a, you know, an up and down, you know, story. What keeps you going? You know, what keeps the flame going with this passion?
So what keeps me personally going is I can't stop. I can't turn it off. So I've tried to actually phase out a little bit. I want to get more into like podcasting. Like I'm developing a horror podcast called Horror 24/7. So I've been trying, just because there is a lot of stress in the independent film business. But again, like, it's funny, like I've done it for, maybe 20 to 11 years. I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish personally when I set into the business. I have accomplished that. I've accomplished more than I ever thought. Because, like, again, Deadly Gamble, I was kind of cool with that, and then it kept going. But I said, all right, I'm done. I said I'm done. Right after Human Hibachi 2, I was done. And then I'm just like chilling, and I'm like, damn, I got an idea. I can't shut it off. Then it started, this is the best idea ever. And then I'm like, I can't turn it off. So with me personally, I can't physically turn that off. Like, that's something that's literally inside of my brain, where if I don't do it, I don't feel right. So that's what keeps me going. I love creating. I love entertaining. And to me, that's what keeps me personally going. You know, other people might have other reasons, but me, that's why I can't shut that creativity off. I just can't. If I shut my creativity off, I'm not living. I'm not living personally. It's like a singer that loses their voice. Like, I'm not living. I mean, I might be living, but I'm not actually there. Like, I have to be creating.
Do you ever sit and be like, I have no idea how I got here? Like,
yes, all the time.
Like you're saying, you know, your wife found this
all the
like
time,
on the shelf, and you're like,
and
you're, you know what I mean? Like, what?
All the time. All the time. It's surreal.
Yeah.
It's surreal. So that picture there, like, that was one of the most surreal moments of my life. Like, I walking into a Barnes and Noble and seeing my movie on the shelf. Like, I would have never in a million years, again, I didn't set out to be a filmmaker. I would have never in a million years thought I'd see a movie of mine on a huge retail store shelf. Delsey Drive-In Theater, they had a marquee out there. I see my film on the marquee above, I think it was like The Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, no, and it's like weird. It's so weird. Like, exactly. I'm always like, how did I get to that position? And it's nothing but just like perseverance and hard work. I mean, seriously, like, and I try and stress that, like, you have to work hard. If you don't work hard, you're not gonna be.
And I think the work hard kind of connects to, we spoke a little bit about, before this event, about how interesting it was with your athletics and your coaches and your team, and how that kind of correlates to filmmaking.
Oh, it's huge.
I mean,
it's
share
huge.
kind of
so I will.
those things we were chatting about.
Yeah, so I played baseball for this college, so I played all the way up to the collegiate level. Baseball, I played under the best baseball coach you could play for in Woodstown. His name's Lee Ware. He's legendary. I think he is one or two or the third most winning coaches in New Jersey. That man taught me so much besides my father. He was like such an inspiration to me. He preached teamwork. He preached. Now here's the thing. I'll take this to my grave, and whoever I can relay this info to worked so much for me. We would be in a big game, and I would be up, for instance, and he was on third base. He was the third base coach, and he would look at me. I didn't understand it at the time. I kind of understood it, but I, still an immature mind. I might have been a sophomore or junior. You hear things, but you don't really internalize at that age. And it would be like a real stressful moment for a kid that's 15 or 16 playing a varsity baseball game with the game on the line. And I knew how competitive that man was. But he would look at me and say, my nickname was Rio. He would say, Rio, the sun's gonna come up tomorrow, kid. So at the moment, I'm like, what's he talking about? The sun's gonna come up. But now I knew what he meant. He meant, regardless of the outcome today, the sun will still rise in the morning and everything will be all right. And that is so powerful. Like, if you internalize that, it's so powerful. Like, the sun will come up tomorrow. So regardless of what you do today, how hard you try, it still might not work out, but tomorrow that sun's still gonna come up. Dude, it opens your eyes up to like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. So that's, and he built that like teamwork structure, like working as a team is so huge, especially in this business, because again, and I preach this, when I'm running a film set, a lot of these people, and what I do different is a lot of these guys, directors, producers, they'll come on with an attitude, with ego, like, I'm the director, you go sit down, I'll let you know when you get on set, blah, blah. Dude, just stop, dude. Like, the biggest thing I preach is you're as good as your smallest guy on set. So if my guy on set, and they say it's a production assistant, a PA, if he's being treated like crap, what's that say about me? How's my team ever gonna thrive if he's not thriving? So in order to get a team thriving, everybody's gotta be on that winning stratosphere. Everybody's gotta be, oh yeah, he's a great director, he does for me, I do for him. Then you're gonna get better work out of somebody that's happy. If he's not happy, he might not show up tomorrow. I'm only paying him peanuts. I mean, seriously, like, and I always took that, like, I'm paying a guy $100 or $150, like, treat him like gold, man. He's there for you, he's there for himself, but he's also there to help you out. But I'm telling you, a lot of these, like, producers in the area, they get that big head, and like, oh, no, like, and that, again, is burning bridges, you're making a bad name for yourself, they don't work for you, but that's huge. Team starts at the bottom level, doesn't start at the top. You know what starts at the top? A good leader. Good leader, but a good leader treats the bottom guy like gold. That's why teams, professional sports, the best teams are usually the best teams that play as a team. The ones that have the guys that are all about themselves at the top usually end up losing. So.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. I think, a lot of young filmmakers don't really realize that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful,
Absolutely.
Motto to live by. And obviously that coach had a huge
Huge
influence
impact,
on
yeah.
you. And you're taking it with you throughout
Absolutely.
whatever you're doing.
It's funny, my dad, for my 38th birthday last year, it was when I turned 38, I opened up a present, and I'm like, what's this? He literally went to that coach's house, got him to, he got a framed saying that says, the sun will come up tomorrow. He went to the coach's house, because my dad knows him, and he got him to sign it, and that's on my wall. And like, that's how much that means, because again, life doesn't always, you might have visions, but half the time the vision doesn't, more than half the time, doesn't amount to anything. So when you know that the sun will come up tomorrow, it'll make you a better person, and you actually accomplish more, because guess what, tomorrow you try again.
So share with the students and starting out young filmmakers, what would be some of your advice to them?
Find out what you want to do. So you do definitely want to again, that's good. Again, you're asking good questions.
Thank you.
A lot of people will. I want to be in the film industry, but you really got to focus in. If you want to be an actor, be an actor. There's people that I know that acted for 15, or they've been acting for 10 years, and now all of a sudden they're a director, but they're not known as a director. Like, you're an actor. You've been an actor for 10 years. So how can a producer take you serious? Now you're just going to be a director. You have no credits. So if you want to be an editor, go to be an editor. Master the editing. Don't go editing, lighting, sound, production assistant, because then it's like, what are you and who are you? You got to brand yourself. And that's kind of why I branded myself as a horror director, because I'm branded in that horror genre. Whereas I really stress that yet. So you definitely want to brand yourself. Pick out what you want to be and be the best at that. Don't be okay at this, okay at that, good at that, a little good here, because then guess what? Now you're actually diluting yourself. Because again, somebody's gonna judge you as a whole. So if you're good, okay, decent, great, then what are you? He's okay. But if you're an amazing lighting guy, you're gonna get so much more work, because he's amazing at lighting. So you really want to dump all your focus into one thing. Actors should dump all their focus in the craft of acting, because then you're going to be the best actor. So I definitely stress that.
And I think probably one of the major questions is how do they get themselves out there? So in our program here, there's a mandatory experiential learning element. They have to do an internship.
Okay.
And I think one of the first things I get is, how do I do that?
Right.
How do you suggest students, young people just starting out, how do they get their feet wet? What are some tips and tricks that you can give them?
Yeah, so a lot of times, like, I still do it, I just did it, I post to, it's called film.org, that's the local Philly one where if you want to find a job in the film business, you can go right on there. You'll see what like producers are looking for. A lot of times they're looking for, and sometimes you get paid work on there. But yeah, you definitely want to don't undervalue yourself, but also don't go in with a big head, because you want to, and I do this a lot. I'll a lot of times I take on free work on the first film and see how they do, how they act, and then the second film I'll bring them back and I pay them. So you always want to go in there, unless they're right off the bat, they might say, hey, we're paying you 500 hours a day, man, fine, take it. But if the film says, listen, we're looking for local talent for this, and it might say free work or deferred, still take it, man. Like, you don't want to oversaturate yourself, like you don't want to work for everybody, but you want to take a couple jobs, get your feet wet within the business, learn it, again, build that resume. So film.org is big. You can look for jobs on there, like editing jobs. I mean, where most of you got like editing and tech, or what are most of your students?
There's a lot. Why don't you guys share?
Yeah.
What are you guys Arian, what are you most interested in?
Cinematography.
Cinematography?
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stefan, what do you got?
Editing, a lot of editing.
That's good. Yeah.
Laura?
I like editing, I guess. I mean, I'm obviously older than everybody else here, but I like the editing part of it, but I also like writing.
Okay.
I like writing things.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Alejandro?
Acting and directing.
Nice.
Editing, cinematography, photography.
You look like a DP, dude.
What?
You look like a director of photography, actually. They all have the same look, yeah.
I do a lot of photography stuff. I'm also.
Yeah, you look like a camera guy.
There's some other people here, I don't have them directly to class, so I don't know them by name, but if you all would like to share, yes.
I'm John. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, it's okay.
Perspective.
Sure, perfect.
I want to get into mostly videography.
Very cool.
Editing.
Yes.
I'm Aisha and I want to be an author and director.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yes.
My name is Mike. I'm an actor.
Cool, man. Nice to meet you guys.
Are you interested in the field or? It's all right, all good. You're welcome. What's on the next for you? What's on the horizon? What are we gonna see? Or where do we want to be in 5
Well,
years?
all right, so Human Hibachi 2 releases, actually I got word, April 1st, it's coming to Troma.
Okay.
Then it's gonna release back in, I think, supposedly April 15th, it's coming, through Kings of Horror, which has like, I think they have like 2 million subscribers on YouTube, which is huge. I signed a deal with them. So this spring, Human Hibachi 2 is really it's gonna blow up. Again, because the first one got that cult following, and they're all looking forward to this one. And what's gonna happen is some people are gonna see this one, and it's gonna revert back to the first one. That's why you're gonna get, yeah, it's gonna work like that, because what'll happen is this is gonna get more of a large scale release. And
people are
they're gonna say, what?
The first one.
Exactly. Yeah, it's gonna go. That's exactly what's gonna happen. Because it's what they're doing now is they're releasing the Kings of Horror is a YouTube channel, and they got like some of their videos on their movies had like 8 million views. So they're releasing it for free.
Wow.
I haven't done this strategy before. They're going. This is what I really. But you get paid off ads, and I'm looking at like how many views they have. They have like millions and millions of views on their movies. So that's going to really blow up on YouTube, and what'll happen again, it's going to revert back to the first one. So I'm kind of in the works of, am I doing a third one, or am I doing a prequel? But the prequel, if I do that, it's going to be a short film, like 10 minutes to show the guy in Japan's going to be in Japanese language spoken with like English subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting a horror podcast, like I said, called Horror 24/7 with Michael Joy, he's a marketing guy that I work closely with that gets like my work out there. So we're looking to start a horror podcast. Yeah, and then I'm just, I got other stuff out there. I have a script called The House in the Pines. That's a larger budget that we're looking for like 500 grand on that. I got Hollywood vets attached to that. The guy that did Nightmare on Elm Street, he did all the production work for that franchise. He's directing it. So I actually wrote the script, and now because I don't feel like directing,
Sit back and collect the check.
yeah, it's stressful. So yeah, you take,
it is.
Ultimately I always just want to be a writer. And I probably should have touched on that.
Yeah, because you came to school for just regular liberal arts.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing.
But
I
your
think I was in
passion,
criminal justice.
You liked writing.
Yeah, I love writing, and I just wanted to get like my screenplays made, but I didn't know who to get them to. So you had to go and do it yourself, and now I'm at the point where I can write and let other people do it. That's kind of where I always wanted to be.
So are you doing anything with, so it's funny, it's coming out on April Fool's. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that's really smart. I think,
Right.
Filmmaking has changed since I went to undergrad and graduate a school with all the online content. We didn't
Right.
have all those streaming services when I went to school.
Right.
But so now it's a little bit different of distribution
Right.
and having more eyes and more clicks and all the analytics than there were before of
Right.
just the DVD or
Right.
the VHS or,
Yeah.
so I think it's better for
It is.
filmmakers now than it used to be.
Yeah, and it is. It could be a double-edged sword though because of it can get oversaturated.
Sure.
So that
Okay.
again, but that's kind of why I wanted to do something that's like crazy. I wanted to do like something where like, man, that just sounds crazy. Like human hibachi, like it just rings a bell. Like, what is that about? I want to see it. There's 3 things that sell film: trailer, title, art. That's the only thing people see. You can't actually sell film. I mean, unless you have a big cast on it, like Bradley Cooper, you got to sell it with trailer, art, and title. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, I'd love to open it up
Yeah,
to
you guys have questions.
because I know this is a small group, but I think this is like a great way to have access to someone of great, such a great history and knowledge, and thank you again for
Absolutely.
sharing. Arian.
You had that slate up earlier. Was that like the Cameron Mitchell of those movie?
No. Yeah, he has the same name. Cameron Mitchell, yeah. It's funny, we joked about that a lot. He's actually the director of photography, but he has the same name, yeah.
Excellent. Questions? It could be about anything?
Yeah, feel free, guys.
Yeah, Alejandro, and then we'll go to Laura. Yeah.
Do you feel like where you're at now is what you sort of like imagine yourself to be, or do you feel like there's still some more stuff that you wanna do?
Great question.
Yeah, it's a good question. No, so where I'm at now, I never expected to be, first of all. I never thought that, I never even thought I could make a movie, so that's, you know what I mean? Yeah, of course, I mean, yeah, the sky's the limit, man, with anything in life, you know what I mean? You just kind of got to keep going forward, but also, you have to be real with yourself too, you know what I mean? If you had $50 million in the bank, you could do a lot. But, I'm happy with what I've done, man. I mean, really, like, there comes a point, and it's a good question because I still battle that in my head. I really do. Like, I'll battle like what could be, but in the reality is what you've done, you gotta be okay with, and always know that the sun's gonna come up. So if the sun comes up, you have a future, right? So, yeah, good question.
Laura, and then we'll go to
Okay, I have a whole bunch of them. I'll ask one at a time.
All right.
You said it took you anywhere from 3 days to a month to write some of these screenplays.
Mhm.
How long does it take you to film the movie?
So like Human Hibachi ones film quick because they're done on the phone, so it's a lot different because you don't have a crew. I mean, you're using natural elements, so like you would light it a little bit, like you'll light it a little bit, but they get filmed a lot quicker. So like the Hibachi films were like 7-8 days of filming, whereas like Deadly Gamble and the listing were like 15 to 20. And that might span, so 15 to 20 spans about 2 to 3 months. Human Hibachi is about a month. Yeah, so, which I love doing because, man, you don't have like, you're not really relying on a film crew, which can get tedious.
Did you hold the camera? Were you the one filming it?
Yeah.
Can I just piggyback on that? Did you use like a Filmic Pro or did you, no, okay, so our
No.
students are using Filmic
Right,
Pro.
yeah.
But
It's
you-
nice, that's a nice feature. But I wanted it to look like,
Real cell phone.
I wanted to look
Not like,
raw.
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted, because if you like, again, because the style of the film was like people that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, right.
So I wanted to look like they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a style that,
And people think that that might be really easy, but it's not, it's actually harder.
Harder.
Because you have to keep up with that.
it's harder,
look
right?
And that style the whole
Right,
way
and it's
through.
funny you say that because, like for instance, say I was filming out of this room here, it would look terrible because the lighting's terrible. So, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
Right,
Yes.
but and there's a fine line of would it work? Yeah, it would work, and you have to figure out does. But then you also have to worry about distribution because they do cut it off. You have to have specs.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's a fine line with that.
yeah,
Good
so you
question.
have to keep the quality.
Yeah,
The ideal behind
it's hard.
it is low budget, low
Low budget,
quality.
like
Yeah.
It's a whole
So it's very interesting.
fine line.
Yeah,
Audio is another thing you gotta worry about. But
yes.
you got another one, Laura?
I have more, but he had
Oh.
everything, so I'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that it's very stressful, it gets very stressful. What are some of the ways you kind of, I guess, cope or deal with like the stress? Like for example, when you're like throughout like the whole days that you're looking at film,
Like on set stress, you're saying? Like how do I deal with that?
Yeah, how do you
Oh my god. Man, I'm still learning that.
What's your escape or what do you do?
Yes.
Do you have like a meditation?
No,
thing? Do you-
no. Oh man. So it's funny you say that, man, because
Give it the advice.
no, I don't. Number one, I don't sleep. So if I have a film set tomorrow, dude, like it's so hard to sleep the night before for me personally because there's so much when you're like running everything. You got to remember all the props, you got to remember so much, especially in horror. There's so much props. So I don't sleep the night before. So that's number one. So I'm heading into this set with no sleep. So that what's that? Cortisol goes up from that. So the stress level is already high. I personally, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not good at handling it. Not that I'm a bad person on set, I'm a great person on set. But internally, I feel terrible, like heart palpitation. It gets stressful, man. So one way I handle it is I just get zoned out. So in my work, you know what I mean? I really zone out in what I'm doing. And that's I'm very detail oriented. So that's how I kind of channel it. But if I knew how to handle it, I just don't. I can't, because I'm not good at channeling my own stress, and that's one of my things that I'm not good at. There's no real, like, unless you're like, I don't know, man, it's like, unless you're drinking alcohol on set to calm yourself, there's no real way to, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
Good question. Did you have a question?
I don't know.
No? Do we have a question? Then we'll go back to Laura. Go ahead. Yes.
When did you start getting into horror?
My whole life. I liked it as a kid, but then like actually producing it and 10 years ago, 11 years ago, like 2011, I did my first horror trailer. So yeah, but yeah.
What are some of your favorite mainstream movies?
Well, the best I think ever is Halloween, the original Halloween. I feel like that's groundbreaking. Nightmare on Elm Street series franchise is amazing. I'm trying to think. I like the old school stuff. Some of the new stuff's good. I'm trying to think of. I love like the Saw franchise. I like off the wall stuff too, but
What do you mean? What are they? Saw 7, Saw 8?
yeah, I think so. But like, I think Halloween is like just the best. Like when you talk about something that was just groundbreaking and just like scared you to the core, I feel like that was it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We'll do Laura and then we'll go to you, Kevin.
Okay, you said you did your own editing in the beginning, are you still doing your own editing as well, so everything is,
Yeah, that.
what do you use, what?
Yeah, so the director of photography on the listing, I was editing with him. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, what are you doing? I don't know. We gotta get an editor. He goes, I'll help you. So he trained me on that, and I kind of got really good at it. And what happened was I was like, oh, that saves you a lot of money because editors are expensive. Like when you're paying, even at the independent film level, I mean, these guys they're gonna charge you $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 to edit a feature film because it's gonna take them months. So when you have that luxury to do it in your house when you want and cut it the way you want, saves you a lot of money. So I made sure I learned that. That was a necessity. If I'm gonna do this, I gotta know how to cut back. So that was, and I use Premiere Pro. I edit all my films on Premiere, which is, I never learned on Final Cut's the other one. I never learned on that, but well, it's like people that edit know one or the other. Yep.
So my question was, so like locally, I have an agent, I do some commercials and things like that. I'm trying to get more into the indie sort of acting so I can build my resume.
Right.
It seems like our area is more, there's more like production jobs and things
Yep.
like that. I do look on film.org, but that
Right.
also seems a lot more production
Right.
based. How would you say, to get into, the indie films as an actor?
Meet somebody like me and I'll hook you out. How about that? I'll help you. That's how you do it. Honestly, it's who you know, and then what they'll do is they'll start delegating you to people. Like I'll give you my email, man. I like to help people out because, and number one thing is nobody helped me out. When I got into it, nobody helped me out, and I always wanted that person to help me out. And I said, if I ever get in a position where I can help somebody out, I want to help them out because I know how that feels. Like you feel like you're hitting a wall and you can't get anywhere, and you're just like, man, how do I do this? And nobody cares. And the number one thing is who you know. I hate to say it, but like somebody, I could help you out immensely. I can say, listen, I got this guy, let's get in acting, and I'll send you out, and just like that. But backstage is a good one. There's a lot of jobs on backstage. There's a guy that I know that, I mean, you said you have an agent?
Yeah.
Okay, who is it?
Mainline, Miles and Power.
Okay, they do more like photo shoots, or
They do like commercials and.
Yeah, so that's a whole different ballgame. So they're gonna.
And they do film and stuff.
Yeah.
But for indie films, I feel like usually they don't go through agencies, they just go direct.
No, indie films all who you know.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's how that works. I'll help you. All right.
Other questions? Yeah.
Where do you reach out to find actors for your movies? And also,
Where do you go to reach out to find actors for your movies is the first
Okay.
question.
and also, you had some pretty long takes in the first Human Hibachi. And it's like, how many takes did you have to do? Or did you just kind of like let the camera roll and like let the improv?
So you wanna do the technical one first? or
Yeah.
do the-
So you said where you find your actors and all that. So it's a network. So like, so what happens is you get to know somebody, and it seems like you get 50,000 friend requests of actors on Facebook. It's really funny. Like if you do like a film, all of a sudden you get like all these actors. They'll inbox you, literally inbox you. But hey, I'm a 50-year-old female. I can play this role, that role. I mean, it gets like that. Like where they're literally, and you're like, you ignore like half of them. There's a lot. But again, I went back for like Human Hibachi 2. I needed a 60-year-old looking female that could play the role of like a redneck in the woods. And I remember she had messaged me 2 years ago, and you go back, and then, so it's more so like when you get in that business, like it's like pizza guys that own a pizza shop know every pizza owner from the block down to the next. It's like a network that starts spiraling. You know, once you get in, it's hard to get out. So and again, I'll put like casting calls out. So like film.org is how I've casted some of my movies. I'll put like the roles, and you get flooded with emails. So, there's a lot of actors looking for work. What was the second?
When you were doing those, like mainly on the interior, some of them you had like really long takes in the first Human Hibachi. And did you have to do like a bunch of takes for those, or were they more like?
Yeah, so you know what's so hard? It's actually, it's funny you bring that up. Human Hibachi was so hard to shoot because I mean, you're a camera guy, right? You know camera. So when you do a regular film, you take a wide shot, right? Then you move in, you get your different shots, right?
Right.
But so you can cut the scene. You keep cutting, say, oh, listen, we didn't get it on this take, but I'll get it when I go in close, we'll get it there. We can pick it up there. Can't do that because it's all one
Take.
it's all one take. So now it makes it so much harder because if my scene's 3 minutes long, right, I gotta get it all in those 3 minutes. So now if we get a flub line at minute and a half, that minute and a half, I gotta go back. So that whole has to be fluid and continuous. Whereas when you're shooting a regular feature film with camera setup, it's all right, just cut there and then we'll move in and get it on the close up and then I'm thinking of editing in the future. So it's so hard. Yeah, you do a lot of takes. You do a lot.
Yes.
I just want to add something. Just a comment on the fellow here about where to find actors. Mario mentioned Backstage earlier, of course, and there's another one, another website called Actors Access, where these are subscription based, but you're going to get a large pool. But I would agree with Mario. Go local first, and work film.org, and then then move out from there. But Actors Access and Backstage.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you have some more questions?
Of course.
Of course. I love her.
So you said your budgets were fairly small in the beginning, and they're not huge compared to Hollywood standards.
Right.
And you said you didn't make any money on the first ones. How are you making money? You're getting paid to direct other people's things, but how are you making money on your own films? Are there residuals when they're out there? You said for the one that's coming up on YouTube, you're gonna get paid on the ad clicks, which
Right.
makes sense. But how about the ones that have been in theaters? How are you making any money on those?
So the listing is so far paid me the most, and I think that's because he's the most honest distributor. So it really comes down to like the distributors because I feel like that they have the power. So the listing, I've gotten residual checks since the day it came out, and that came out in 2017, and he still writes the checks, which is, and I think it's all dependent on the distributors.
You signed a contract with them.
Yeah, you sign a contract. I'm in the process of getting a lawyer right now for the first Human Hibachi. I'm still, because this is how it gets. It was distributed pretty widely by a company, and I've been emailing. It's the second email I sent. This is like the reality of an independent filmmaker. I've been emailing them, asking when they're going to send a royalty check, or at least a statement, something. I don't care if it made $0. Be honest with you. I don't want to be ignored. So now, they're ignoring me. 3 times I've asked, for a statement, and they're ignoring me. So now I'm in the process of getting an attorney to investigate. So lo and behold, I've come to find out, because you start asking around about these guys. They've been sued before for this reason. So that's kind of the reality of it.
Maybe one should get a lawyer up front, like you learned the hard way
Right.
from this, but maybe going into it, especially if you're signing a contract with a company that knows more than you do about
Right.
something, which is probably gonna be the case for any one of us in the room.
Right.
If we start doing something, somebody's gonna know more about it than we do.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
getting a lawyer might be a good investment.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Let us know if you want to be an RCBC student again. We have entertainment law. How many
Yeah.
people taking entertainment law? Yes, okay. So there you go.
Yeah,
Come
so,
on back.
I know, right?
Glad to have you. Other questions for Mario? Or if there's anything that maybe you thought I was gonna ask or that you wanted to share, or maybe something that that we didn't touch on that you think is really, important to share with this group and future filmmakers, young filmmakers, starter-outers, what would you have liked to have known, I guess?
What would I have liked to know? Would it be like 10 years down the road, probably? Yeah, like when I got into it, I want to know what it'd be like 10 years in advance. Now, I mean, the number one thing I can seriously stress is you gotta love doing it. You have to, because if you don't, it is a hard road. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's like, there's gonna be so many different like obstacles that are just gonna, they say, I'm gonna quit, let me just get a regular job, and, but like, if you have that fire, you'll know. I mean, you guys know if you have a fire inside you that you can't shut off. take it and just run with it. I mean, see where it goes. I mean, you know, yeah. I don't know, just go. Either way, the sun's gonna come up.
Problem is the fear sometimes stops you.
Absolutely.
Fear of the unknown.
It almost stopped me, man. Right before Deadly Gamble, I was at my parents' and I said, Mom, I'm gonna call this off. And I had been planning for 6 months. And I was like, I'm gonna call this off. That was the fear that stopped me, but you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I said, I'm calling this off. And my mom's like, go and do it.
I was like in between being practical and my passion.
Right.
for editing.
Yeah. Editing, you can make some money off, man.
That's how I started, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
like after doing the program, that attended, obviously,
Yeah.
the cost could help.
Yeah.
Especially if you're having trouble finding them.
You know what's funny is I took an editing job doing, this is when I was first started out doing wedding videos. Oh my God.
So I did too.
Yeah, I did one video, I edited it great, and the bride kept sending it back, said, edit your own video, I'm done. You gotta have a passion for what you're doing, because I had no passion doing that, I didn't care. But, not that I didn't care, but I didn't have
Pay
to.
the bills.
Exactly, but it's like, yeah, it's tough.
Fourth wedding, they want to be
Dude.
It's perfect.
Exactly, yeah,
No matter
exactly.
what you could send them a Hollywood blog.
Exactly.
Budget thing, and it's, nah, but
I want this change, but they don't realize in editing, when you want to restructure stuff, you might as well just delete everything, because it's,
yeah, you gotta restart.
yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Oh, what?
You might as well just get a new timeline, because, yeah, because they start picking it apart, we want here, this, there, it's like, oh my God, you just spent a week on it. It's tough, but.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have one more. How do you feel about the news that Netflix is gonna try to create a, Hollywood East here in New Jersey, which is apparently where Hollywood started originally.
It did, yeah.
Before it moved there because of the weather, but is that exciting to independent filmmakers, or will it not really impact what you're doing because you're not gonna interact with?
Yeah, it's cool, definitely. It would not impact me. I've had guys say to me, like, you should go email. I'm like, email, come on, dude. You know what I mean? It's not like that. Like, I had one of my friends that's worked on a couple films with me. He's like, yo, Netflix is coming to New Jersey, dude. You need to get in with them. I'm like, it's not like that. Like, hey, knocking on a door, like, it's not like that. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah, that wouldn't. They would actually be more so like competitive. They're like a competition, even on a scale where I'm at. But still, yeah, that's competition.
Will you hang for a little bit in case they
Absolutely.
want to chat?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I want to thank Mario. Let's give him a round of applause for coming out. I appreciate it. And I think it's wonderful that you came and shared your story from kind of where I guess it kind of started for you, but not really started in
absolutely.
this direction.
I didn't know
but
what I wanted to do.
everything, the path that you take, it kind of leads you to where you are now. And we're so happy. Thank you so much for saying yes to coming and doing
Absolutely.
this. I appreciate it. And that's it. We'll have, if the students want to hang and
Yep.
chat, that's awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for